What's up YouTube, Capital G here. We're talking Raid Raptors in this video, and again it is an OCG deck. Now I don't do a ton of OCG discussions on this channel, as you guys might know, but when I find a deck that does something really impressive, especially if it's a very original deck or something that's based around one of the newer archetypes, I'll definitely discuss it. Now Raid Raptors, we don't have all of them in the TCG. We actually have a lot of these cards, you know, especially the older cards like Swallow's Nest that people may not have seen for a long time and maybe never have seen used competitively. But the Raid Raptors will be coming out over the next couple of sets. I think by Clash of Rebellion will pretty much have everything that we need to play this deck. If you don't know about Raid Raptors, a lot of people have said that they're kind of like the new age Blackwings. I think they are as far as fanfare. Like, people who like Blackwings will probably like Raid Raptors. They're not synchro based like Blackwings. These guys are XC based because, you know, they're like all level 4, but much like Blackwings, they're all dark, they're all winged beast, so you can use a lot of the same cards like Icarus attack and whatnot. They don't control the battle phase as well as Blackwings do. You know, Blackwings had Colludes. Blackwings could pump themselves up with Sirocco. They had Gale to cut your dudes in half. So they're a little different, but they all have these little kind of quirky utility effects. You know, like one guy is Marauding Captain. They have a bunch of cards that are kind of like Boro. One is a Foolish Burial. You know, they all have these little quirky effects that all kind of work in unison, and they make XCs really easily. And if you, I mean, if there's one thing that I've learned over maybe the last month or so, it's that the XC game is completely different in the OCG. Like, you can just win duels just by making a bunch of just good rank 4 XCs, because if we just look at the extra deck, you know, there's so many things that they have in the OCG that we don't. Elder God Nodin, again, a 1-card Wolfbark for pretty much every deck to be able to use. They have the Planeteer. We now have the Planeteer Tellarknight guy, but they also have things like Cyber Dragon Infinity, which we're not going to continue talking about how insanely powerful that card is. It's damn near a win condition on its own. Utopia of the Lightning, just make a Utopia overlay for this, detach a couple materials, you get a 4,000 beater. It's pretty insane. And then of course they have Shockmaster. We don't. The card is definitely real. Could you imagine if we had Shockmaster right now, especially with the Star Seraphs? It would be insane. So let's look at the deck. He's got 3 copies of Tribute Lanius. Tribute Lanius is essentially the Foolish Burial for the deck. It kind of loads up your graveyard, and some of these cards, when they're sent to the graveyard, they do pay for themselves. Like, they'll let you search another Raid Raptor. Sometimes you want to put cards in your graveyard because you can get them back from Raptor's Nest. He has a second effect. If he runs over something in battle, you can get a rank up spell, but he didn't run any of the rank up cards, and Raid Raptors do have some really cool rank up cards. So they're completely XC based, but he didn't find it necessary, I guess, to run that. He's got the Vanishing Lanius, or Van Lanius. He has 3 Vanishing Lanius. This is essentially Marauding Captain. I mean, it's just a XC maker. There's not much more to say about it. The stats are just okay. I think maybe they should have made all the Raid Raptors like 1800, just kind of make them like all generic beat sticks. This guy is essentially your Bora. You can just, if you control any Raid Raptor other than itself, you can just special summon it from your hand. So it, much like this, is just a quick way to get XCs, and I'm pretty sure this is the card where if it's sent to the graveyard, it gets another copy. Yep. Fuzzy Lanius, if it's sent to the graveyard, you just search another copy. So as soon as you, like, as soon as it goes to the graveyard, I would assume most of the time you're going to XC, you detach this as material, you just get another copy so that you can go into another XC next turn. He has 3 copies of the Mimicry Lanius. These are some weird names, by the way. This guy actually makes it so that you can go into like rank 5 XCs, which is pretty cool. I mean, even though that their main XC, the 4 Strix, which searches the entire archetype for the most part, even though that they're not really rank 5 base, they're like kind of rank 4 base, and usually you can rank up. They do have a rank 5 monster, and you can still use this to go into, like, well, no, you can't go into Cyber Dragon Nova. That requires level 5 monsters. But you can go into level, or you can go into rank 5 cards if you, for some reason, just want some splash in like a Volcasaurus, or maybe a Tyrus or an Adrius, something like that. The options are there. That's all I'm saying. He's got 2 copies of Impale Lanius. This guy is, he's the way to get over beaters. Like, if your opponent has, I don't know, like, a a Brionic on field. It's 2300, but we know it has very low defense. You can put it in defense mode using this guy's effect, and then you can run it over as long as this guy attacks, he will actually be able to pay for itself. I believe he tutors a Raid Raptor card from the graveyard. Let me just make sure. You can target one Raid Raptor monster in your graveyard, and you can special summon it. Yeah, so this guy has a nice quick plus effect. It's very, very easy to trigger. And then you have the last card that he runs, at least the last monster, the Singing Lady. It's just essentially like another copy of Boar. It's just only when you control NXT monster. So, you know, it's more or less a one of. It's kind of like a worse version of Fuzzy Lanius, to be honest. One Dark Arm Dragon because the entire deck is dark. No Allure Darkness in here. I've actually been noticing that's starting to become a trend. People will run all dark decks, but no Allure Darkness. I mean, I guess you could easily splash in Allure Darkness. 3 copies of Swallow's Nest. All right, so I'm thinking that this is mainly because in the OCG there are 3 compulse evacuation devices. So anytime his opponent wants to like compulse one of his dudes, you can easily just Swallow's Nest it. You can essentially make them miss the target. You can get a replacement. You have to get what's it called? You have to get a monster that's the same level as the monster you tributed, but every single monster in this deck except Dark Arm is level 4. So I mean, you just tutor for anything. 3 copies of Forbidden Chalice. You know, sometimes you can't run skill drain, you know. So this is a quick way to fuck your opponent over when they summon out Manju Sanju. They try and get that Deneb on board, just like, nope, Forbidden Chalice, keep it moving. He has 1 copy of Raid Raptor's Nest. This card is actually searchable with the Raid Raptor cards, and it's really good, but it's kind of conditional. Like if you control 2 or more Raid Raptors, then you essentially get to just get like a free Rhoda essentially, or you can just get a resource back from the graveyard. It's not that difficult because you have so many Raid Raptors that can special from the hand, or you have so many Raid Raptors that give you additional normal summons. So you know, this card seems like a good one of. It is searchable, so, you know, it's searchable and it adds other Raid Raptor cards. Instant Fusion because Nodin is a thing. Monster Reborn and Soul Charge, just, you know, shit goes to the graveyard, reborn it back. Harpy's Feather Dust are pretty staple, and they don't have Regeki in the OCG, so he decided to run Dark Hole. Here's a card that I actually really like. It's called Raptor's Gust. It is essentially, I'm trying to think. It's Dark Bribe, but your opponent doesn't get the draw. As long as you control a Raid Raptor card, you can just activate it. And it doesn't have to be a monster. So you can actually have Raptor's Nest out, and then you can still use it. And it's really good. Now, if it was Raid Raptor's Gust, it would be way better. But they couldn't give the deck everything. Like, they couldn't make this card searchable. Then you'd start, you know, bordering on, like, the Infernity level. 3 evac device. Most decks in the OCG are running this. Double Torrential, double Fiendish Chain. Torrential is at 3 in the OCG, so it is quite common to see, you know, 3 Torrentials sometimes. And then he has the Solemn Brigade, Judgment, and Warning. I really wish we had Solemn Judgment back, but, you know, can't have everything, I guess. We have major differences in the TCG and the OCG, and this is just one of them. 1 copy of Vanity's Emptiness. The extra deck is super solid. Again, there's going to be a lot of differences here than if you would try to run this deck in the TCG when Clash of Rebellion comes out. Mainly, you won't have Shockmaster and you won't have Cyber Dragon Infinity, and we should actually have Nodin by then. So, but it's going to be a little different. And if he's playing against any Dart decks, obviously he has the double diamond in there because he can go into it using this card very easily. The deck is, I think it's more of like a fun deck, but it definitely has the potential to be competitive. And what I really liked about this build is he ran a lot of things in his side deck that he may not have necessarily had room for, like things that you would think, okay, you got to run this. You don't necessarily have to, like Icarus Attack. Obviously, you can use it with every monster in the deck. It's not 100% necessary, but maybe you want to side deck it just as a potential option in case you have to play against like a grind deck. You have that. The Raid Raptors Readiness, another searchable card that can block damage from the graveyard. So let me know what you guys think. Again, very interesting things coming out of the OCG. Thank you guys for watching as always.